After years of neglect, my dad tried forcing me to drop out of college to fund my stepbrother's new house, so I gave him a document that left him speechless. I 20 years female, and ever since my parents separated and my mom walked out on us, my relationship with my dad 50 male has gotten worse and worse. Instead of parenting me as an 8-year-old who suddenly didn't have a mom, my dad turned to drinking 24/7 and left me to raise myself. We lived in a rundown Airstream, and he did nothing to improve our situation. I had no friends, no stability, and essentially no father. Things only got marginally better when I started parenting him in my teen years. I took care of all the household responsibilities, introduced him to a friend, which gradually helped him get back on his feet financially. But any emotional bond, non-existent. He never apologized, never acknowledged how he failed me, and continued to be distant. My grandparents, however, saw what was happening and stepped in. They moved across states to be closer to me, provided the support I lacked, and repeatedly called my dad out on his behavior, not that it changed anything. At this point, we all knew who he was, and I had long accepted that he would never be the father I needed. 2 years ago, my dad married Stephanie, 52 female, and with her came my new stepbrother, Dill, 20 male. I never bonded with them because, from the beginning, they viewed me as the villain. My dad had painted a very different picture of our past, so Dill and Stephanie treated me like the ungrateful daughter who refused to appreciate her father. I felt zero guilt about keeping my distance and was honestly relieved when I moved out for college. Campus life was my escape. I made friends, took on part-time jobs, and enjoyed my independence. The only thing I still relied on my dad for was tuition, which was a huge expense, but one I had no other way to cover. My grandparents remained my emotional support, and I visited them far more often than I visited my dad. During my last visit home, something felt off. Dill was there with a girl I didn't recognize, and the whole house had this tense, anxious energy. There were hushed conversations between my dad, Stephanie, Dill, and his girlfriend, and every time I walked in, it felt like they were on the verge of an argument. I ignored it until my dad sat me down for what he called an important talk. He started with, "You're so talented, but I'm not sure college is the right place for you right now." That set off alarm bells. When I asked what he meant, he continued, "There's an open position at my company. Maybe you should get some real-world experience, freeze your degree, and rejoin college in a few years." I was stunned. "Dad, I can, but I don't want to." What's going on? That's when he dropped the bomb. Apparently, our family was having money troubles, and my tuition was the biggest financial drain. He wanted me to drop out, get a job, and contribute to the household income. I was conflicted. If we were really struggling, I didn't feel right making him pay for my degree. I had even drafted an email to my dean explaining the situation, ready to put my education on hold. Then, by sheer luck, I found out the truth. While Dill was scrolling through Zillow, I jokingly asked him why. His response, "Didn't you know, my girlfriend's pregnant. Mom thinks it'd be best for me to have my own place so we can start a proper family. Everyone's chipping in for the down payment, and I'll pay them back later." I felt sick. I immediately confronted my dad, and after some weak excuses, he finally admitted it. Yes, he wanted me to drop out so my tuition money could go toward Dill's house. And no, he didn't tell me because I don't treat Dill like a brother, and he knew I'd say no. I was livid. I called my grandparents, packed my bags, and left that night. When I told them everything, they were furious. My grandpa decided enough was enough. He took me to his lawyer the next morning and had his will updated to completely remove my dad as a beneficiary. Every cent would now go directly to me. A few weeks later, I returned to my dad's house and handed him a copy of the revised will. I wanted him to feel the weight of his choices. I told him, "Your actions have cost you more than just my trust. You've lost everything my grandparents planned to leave you. And just so you know, they're paying for my college now, so I don't need you anymore." He was speechless. He called his parents, and when they confirmed everything, he was absolutely crushed. Then he told me, "I don't want to see you anymore." At the time, I felt triumphant, but later, guilt crept in. I kept replaying his face when I said I didn't need him. Had I gone too far? Update 1. My dad showed up at my grandparents' house, asking to speak to me privately. He apologized not just for lying about money but for his complete failure as a father. He admitted that Stephanie had pressured him into prioritizing Dill, and instead of standing up for me, he took the easy way out by deceiving me. Then he dropped another bombshell. He was filing for divorce. "She made me choose between you and her. I tried to have both by lying, and I lost you. I don't want to lose my daughter." I was stunned. My dad had never been one for deep conversations, let alone genuine apologies. My grandparents were quick to forgive him, but I wasn't ready to let my guard down just yet. He said he'd prove himself, and for once, I decided to let actions speak louder than words. Update 2. For those asking, I didn't have to drop out. My grandparents covered my tuition, and my dad has been making efforts to rebuild our relationship. His divorce is ongoing, and he's distanced himself from Stephanie and Dill. We're talking more, and while things aren't perfect, they're better. I'm taking it slow, but for the first time, I feel like we actually have a chance at a real bond. Did I handle things perfectly? No. Gloating about the will was petty, and I regret that. But after everything he put me through, I don't think I was wrong to cut him off when I did. He had to lose me to realize what he had, and I don't feel guilty for that. As for Dill and Stephanie, no contact. They made their bed. Final verdict. Was I the off for throwing the will in my dad's face? Maybe, but for everything else, not even close.